Hi, Dan from onlinebasscourses.com, and today I want to show you a few techniques you can use to get rid of unwanted noise when you're playing through muting. And it's probably the least glamorous technique we can talk about really, but if you're playing anything, especially kind of slap and funk, you'll notice that lots of string noise occurs. But even if you're playing the simplest ballad, the same can be true. So a really good thing to do is just to record yourself playing and listen back. That's great for timing in the first place. I remember the first time I listened back to recording, I thought my timing was okay, but it was all over the place. But also I was hearing kind of all kinds of crazy noises happening, and that was because my muting technique wasn't quite down yet. So that's a really good thing to do, is to record yourself. But very, very basically, the first thing you want to start off with is just to have clean technique. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you play a C on the 3rd fret of the A string, if you just play that note, you obviously got to pluck on the A string. That's actually quite, it's the simplest thing in the world, but there's actually quite a lot of things. Like if you've never picked up a bass before, it might not sound like that. It might sound like, you know, you might come through and accidentally hit the E string. We're using rest strokes here, and that's where you pluck, say, on the A string and you rest on the underside of the E string. It's a rest stroke. But if you pluck and you accidentally come through it there, then you're going to get an extra noise. So just to be clean with your fingerstyle technique is a big deal. And if you pluck a C and come off kind of carelessly like that, you will trigger a note. The A string is there. So what I'll do is I want to be a bit more controlled when I'm fretting. So I'm playing on the fingertip there, but when I just release pressure whilst still touching that string, you can hear a kind of tiny little thing going on there when I lift up. That's why I might use the other fingers here, not to slap down like that, which can be useful for slap technique and hammer-ons and ghost notes and things like that, but just to be very kind of light with your touch. And the note will stop. Nothing to do with my plucking hand in this case. Although obviously you can use that as well. And actually one good thing to do is if you're playing, say, let's say the D string, you can rest your thumb on the A string, back it onto the E string, and now those are taken care of. Even if I do that, you can hear something going on the G string, even just doing that. I'm muting the E and the A with my plucking hand thumb. I'm just touching the G string with any fingers really, more than one so I don't accidentally catch a harmonic. Just playing that D string. So that might be one thing to do, is just to play any open string and just sort of close your hand, straight fingers. Yeah, if you do one finger, you might accidentally catch a harmonic, so at least 2 fingers is good for that. So that's it, is to be really clean with your technique, just on a basic level. But if you're doing some kind of slap thing, we can borrow techniques from guitar players. If you think about Nile Rodgers playing the guitar, if he does like a he's got 2 more strings to contend with, and if he does that sort of thing where he looks like he's strumming but you can only hear one note, a lot of that is down to this first finger of the fretting hand. So again, let's go back to that C. So this time, instead of playing right on your fingertip, if you play a little bit further and touch your fingertip on the underside of the E string, and at the same time kind of back your first finger down so it's touching the D and the G, you've now got the D, the G and the E all muted, and the only note that you hear is the one on the A string, the C in this case. And you come off in that controlled manner, or use the other fingers here. Everything is completely under control now in this situation here. There I'm using the octave little finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and these 2 long 2nd and 3rd fingers are not being used. So, I mean, to be honest with you, the first finger is taking care of everything right now, so I'm good. But just as added insurance, and so I don't get any of those harmonics, I'm placing those fingers across. Now it might look like I'm touching across all the strings, but obviously you don't want that because you'll get complete dead sound. That's a ghost note, by the way. If you do that, if you touch all any string, so you get that dead sound, which is good for funk styles. Now this is on the A string that I'm touching the tip of my first finger on that E string, and a lot of this is down to context, because what, for example, would I do if I was playing sort of on the G and the D strings? Now if it was finger style, I could just do that muting technique with my thumb on the E and the A strings. That would be no problem, so that would take care of that. But if it was slap, then I wouldn't be able to do that. Now with no muting, there, it just generates a sound just due to the resonance of the bass, and just any kind of movement will kind of trigger that vibration in the string. So what I'll do here, I'll be less, I mean, when you're slapping, your hand is kind of in the air half the time, so you can't do much, but here I'm just down to necessity. I might just put that part of my palm on the E and the A string. There are other ways of muting if you're slapping, because you look at Lewis Johnson on videos, he put his thumb over the top like this, and that took care of that. I mean, it's not something that I find very comfortable doing, but you can try that, and if it works for you, then do it. If it worked for him, didn't it? So the bottom line is that you have to stop a string any way you can with your left or your right hands, and as long as the tone sounds good and you're not stretching or straining and nothing hurts, then it's fine, really. You can get those fret wraps or hair band things that go over the top here, but this is, I think it's a really good idea to be able to control everything yourself. So yeah, there I might do that, or you could, you know, experiment with that. But really, most of the time, it's kind of fingers of the fretting hand that are doing the job, but obviously in conjunction with your plucking hand as well. And as ever, you've got to do all these things slowly and be a bit like a forensic scientist. So that's where you record yourself and you listen back, and just be honest with anything you hear. It's a pretty boring technique in that it's not that exciting, but actually it makes you sound much better, and it makes you play better, so it is definitely a good thing to do. So I hope you found some of those techniques useful and you can incorporate that into your own playing. Now that was one of my subscribers, Cliff, who had the question, so thanks Cliff for that. And if anyone else has got any tips or things you're struggling with, just leave a comment in the box below, or get in contact at onlinebasscourses.com, and I can do a similar video just clearing up some of those techniques, or any questions about anything really, anything bass related, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.